Welcome back to DHN. I'm Wade Teamer. So there's a rumor spreading through the Hedera community right now that I think you need to know about. So over the weekend, Credible Bull posted, Hedera held a private meeting in New York yesterday on tokenizing real world assets and other related topics. In a now deleted picture, originally shared by the Hedera account but removed, we see a slide titled Building the Future of Finance on Hedera, with 3 speakers listed, top to bottom, current Hedera Governing Council members, and in between, the head of strategy and partnerships for digital assets at Citi, that very same Citi that you're probably assuming, yep, that's the one. So I'm pretty sure this is as far as people got when they were reading this and they decided to buy some Hbar. I get that. But he continues, there is some speculation that Citi may be the next governing council member and that this was an accidental leak. I think this is well within the realm of possibility. If not an unannounced governing council member spot, then at least an unannounced use case from Citi would make sense. I agree with that, because after you see what I have to share with you in the rest of this video, yeah, you'll definitely understand this has some legs to it, because Citi has had their attention on DLT for a number of years, but I kind of want to keep the focus on this particular event specifically because I want to shout out the Hedera community, the internet sleuths, because you guys are really putting this together. Now, this was courtesy of Hbar Hodler Bull. The lady that is mentioned in that picture, she used to work for JP Morgan. She currently works for Citi. She also was a senior strategy consultant for Deloitte. 3 names that have been involved in crypto behind the scenes for a number of years. Like, the mainstream really doesn't know that some of the biggest banks in this country are heavily involved with digital assets. Her focus is digital assets and institutional clients. Head of strategy and partnerships. Yeah, now you can understand why this is so convincing, but wait. I found this here. Courtesy of Charles Atkins from Hedera, posted this morning, May 14th, right? Remember, the date of the meeting, at least when it was reported, was Saturday, May 11th. So that gives us any day within that second week in May. But he says he had a great time at his first in-person council meeting, which took place in New York. And I've already seen, again, the Hbar community, they're on it. Question, can you give us a hint about Citi? I didn't want to take it that far, but I feel where you're coming from. This was very compelling. And on top of that, it's starting to hit the mainstream media. Well, not mainstream media, but the crypto sites. Finbold is pretty reputable site, making a point to find these publications, the ones that I read, and share them with you every chance that I get, because you got to be safe with your information here. And the article is pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting read. Doesn't really add too much more than what I'm going to share with you in this video. But again, if you want to follow this publication, I would recommend that. Now, here's where things get interesting though, because I want to ask you if you remember this. Last month, we reported on Hedera joining a certain open source foundation. Now, shout out to Hedera Hbar, means I love you, for posting this and bringing it back to my attention, right? Of course, across the top, Adalogics, Boeing, Hedera, among the new council members, but the existing premier members for the OpenSSF include IBM, Google, and none other than Citi. So I immediately had to go back. I had to go back to that article, guys, and I was able to find it. And of course, we did the video about it. We reported on it. But this is another great place to pick up some crypto news, Ginfinity.io. I know the people behind this, not personally, but I've been a fan of their work for a number of years. When I got into the crypto space, they were already in it, and they were speaking on utility before utility was cool. A little bit of where I got it from. So check out Ginfinity.io. And also, I want you to remember the reason why they were brought into this foundation. When we reported on it, my understanding was a bit limited, so I'm glad we were able to take this down here. One of the members of the community provided us a clearer understanding of just exactly the implications and the meaning of open source technology and how Hedera's placement in this foundation could essentially lead to a relationship like Citi. The big takeaway from this is that what we'll be able to jump onto the Hedera network and start developing. Of course, the more applications, the more adoption. And that's really the key to open source, is that it opens the door so others can share and develop useful applications. So with that understanding, it would make sense that a company who has already been experimenting with DLT type of applications for a number of years and understands the flexibility and capabilities of open source technologies, they'd be a lot more inclined to get involved with Hedera. And, just for a laugh, I'm counting governing council members, right? The next one is number 33. And I don't know about you, but I was always raised to believe that number 33 was a very special number. So only time will tell about that. Citi has been involved for a number of years. They launched their digital asset arm in 2021. This was right before the bull run really kicked off, June 2021. Yeah, this was maybe the days before Mark Zuckerberg changed his company to Meta. I know The Verge reported on it in May, but he made it public in that summertime. I do remember that. But they launched their digital asset arm, and they talked about what their plans were. For one, Citi was among the first to do this. Second, actually, being among the systematically important financial institutions, which is just a fancy way of saying the biggest banks. But they were second in the US to launch a digital asset unit alongside State Street. The bank's global head of foreign exchange, Itay Tukman, told Financial Times the month before that Citi was weighing offering cryptocurrency trading and custody and finance options to its clients. Now, keep in mind, this was 2021, and like I mentioned before, Citi has been messing around with digital trade finance, DLT, for a little bit. This is from 2019. Commodities trade finance blockchain goes live. VAC relationship is clarified, but you can see the players involved here. Citi, BP, Shell, ABN AMRO is working with Stellar. So Citi has experience being around companies that work with blockchains. And I remember this survey that came out. It made a few headlines back in August of last year. Citi survey finds significant jump in institutional adoption of DLT and crypto. So they're applying research resources to this. Then we jump back a little bit. April of 2021, they worked with LAC Chain to tokenize some of their payments. And the description of this trial was very interesting. They said in terms of the trial, IDP deposited money into its US Citi bank account using Citi's WorldLink payment APIs. The blockchain assessed the money, tokenized it, and made transfers with a digital wallet. That IDB right there is the International Development Bank. And from my understanding, that's the bank that a lot of smaller nations go to get funding from big nations. So what we just saw with this trial was essentially how wealth can now be moved between nations. On top of this, though, I found this headline to be interesting from the same year. They seem to see a digital money format war on the horizon. This was from one of their representatives holding a conference, but I think it just reflects the philosophy behind Citi, which adds to the possibility of this really being true, guys. Now, like I mentioned, they've worked with blockchains before, as recent as February of this year, where they did a fun tokenization trial on Avalanche. There were some other players involved here with this move, like the DTCC, ABN AMRO, as well as Wisdom Tree, which we know they're tokenizing products on Stellar. But I show you this so that way you know that Citi isn't afraid of pulling the trigger with a major chain. And if that becomes news, we're not going to have a situation with similar to the BlackRock situation. No, because if it didn't happen, Citi will be the first through their digital asset arm to let us know, no, we didn't do this yet. So again, just to add context to that, and this here, Citi developed new digital asset capabilities for institutional clients. I can see Hedera being wrapped up in this situation here. Let's read into this. So Citi Treasury and Trade Solutions announces the creation and piloting of Citi Token Services for cash management and trade finance. The service uses blockchain and smart contract technologies to deliver digital asset solutions for institutional clients. Citi Token Services will integrate tokenized deposits and smart contracts into Citi's global network, upgrading core cash management and trade finance capabilities. Further down, in a quote from the head of global services, he states that digital asset technologies have the potential to upgrade the regulated financial system by applying new technologies to existing legal instruments and well-established regulatory frameworks. The development of Citi Token Services is part of our journey to deliver real-time, always-on, next-generation transaction banking to our clients. This development goes hand in hand with our leading work on the regulated liability network to create interoperable digital asset solutions on a multi-bank basis. Now, I don't know how far in the weeds you've gotten into Hedera's, documentations, but that sounds a lot like Hedera's token services, doesn't it? And the regulated liability network, I believe I have this right here. This is part of a trial that is specifically focused in the United States that is being worked with on or in partnership with Citi and JP Morgan. Who did that lady work for about 6 years before she went to Citi? 3 years before she went to Citi? JP Morgan. JP Morgan also has their own blockchain. They also are buying heap tons of this BlackRock ETF. So the narrative in the United States is changing. I really see that, guys. The narrative in the United States is changing, and I'm excited to see it. I really am excited to see it. As far as price action goes, of course, nothing much is happening, but I think this just reflects the broader market itself. Bitcoin is taking a move to the south, but we see what's on the horizon, though. And on top of that, if we want to talk price, we know what happens when Hedera makes headlines with big players. So whether it's a governing council member spot, whether it's a brand new application, get ready. That's all I can tell you. If you need to pick up some crypto, I'm using Uphold right now. They're a channel partner. So if you use a link in the description, I do get compensated, and I thank you in advance. Also, I want to tell you that crypto assets are risky, so never risk more than what you're willing to lose. Now, if you do decide to make that jump, I would advise you to use a hardware wallet. And we have another channel partner that provides that for us, SafePal. Wallet I've been using for a number of years, hasn't failed me yet. Link to that will be down in the description as well. With that, it's time for the best part. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.